Hello everyone, Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Welcome back. I hope that you are all well. And if you are new, thanks so much for checking out my channel. Please hit subscribe and stick around. Today I am doing a book haul revisit, the first of 2023, and I will be looking back at my book hauls from January 2021 and January 2022 and seeing if I've read any of the books that I hauled. Spoiler, I haven't read most of them. And then I will see what I still have to read from the hauls and what is still on my radar and what isn't. So we are looking back on two book hauls, and I'm going to start with 2021 and then do 2022 and split them that way. I'm hoping it will be a bit easier. I don't know. So let's have a look at the 2021 haul. I hauled 21 books in January of 2021. That seems fitting. I don't know if that was planned, if it was on purpose or not. When I did my revisit in 2022, I had only read 4 of the books, and I'm not going to go over them, but I will put a link to the revisit video in the description box if you want to see that. You can go and check that out and what the results were. So that left me with 17 books still to read from the 2021 haul. And that's still a lot. And when I looked back at this time, I had only read one more book from the haul since the last revisit. So now it was a great read. It was Miss Benson's Beetle by Rachel Joyce. I loved this book. It had several nominations in my Best Books of 2022, and it won for Best Supporting Character. So that leaves me with 16 books to still read from the 2021 haul. 4 of them are still high on my TBR list. Bellevue Square by Michael Redhill, which won the Giller Prize in 2017. Let the Great World Spin by Colum McCann, which has been on my radar since 2009, and I actually thought it was on my shelf for much longer, and I've only heard good things about this, and I really want to read it. Also, one of my dogs does what this guy is doing on the cover, so every time they do that, I'll put a picture up. Every time they do it, I think of this book. Lost Girls by Robert Kolker. I read this author's, what was it called? Hidden Valley Road, and I really, really liked it. So I want to give this author another try and try this one. And then the last book that is still on high up on my TBR is Long Live the Tribe of Fatherless Girls by Kirra Madden. This is a collection of essays, interlinked essays that I would really like to read. And I think I might add it to my nonfiction November possibilities. The next books from this haul are still on my radar, but they have slipped on my TBR just a bit. So if you've read any of these, please let me know, your thoughts on them and if I should maybe prioritize some of them a little bit more. First is The Dragons, the Giant, the Women by Wayetu. I think that I will like this book, and I used to see it every once in a while on BookTube and on different people's videos, but I haven't seen it for a while. So if you've read this, let me know what you think. I think that this is also true for Parakeet. This is by Helen Bertino, and I haven't heard about this for a while, but at one time it was all over the place, and it is one that I am interested in. Eventide by Swedish author Therese Bohman. This is translated by Marlaine Delargy, and I'm actually surprised that I haven't read this yet. I feel like this has been on my shelf longer than 2 years. And this cover, it just has me intrigued. A Dream About Lightning Bugs, A Life of Music and Cheap Lessons by Ben Folds is another one that might make it into the nonfiction November possibilities pile if I don't read it before that. And the last book that's still on my radar is Song of a Captive Bird by Jasmin Darznik. The cover alone is quite appealing to me. I really like it, so we'll see how this one goes. The last 7 books from this haul are the ones that have fallen off the radar, and 7 feels like a lot, but it has been 2 years, and this is why the revisits really help me, because they kind of put them back on my radar. Again, if you have read any of these, please let me know if you enjoyed them or if you didn't enjoy them. So the next one is Chocolates for Breakfast by Pamela Moore. And I actually, maybe this is one that is actually the second in a series. And I don't have the first book. That seems vaguely familiar, but I will have to double check that to see if that's true. The next one is Brooklyn Girls by Gemma Burgess. I love books set in New York. You all know this. So I'm surprised that this is still on my bookshelf, not read, and that it didn't stay on my radar. The Dream Daughter by Diane Chamberlain. I think this hasn't been a high priority for me because I've read one other Diane Chamberlain, and it was just okay to me. So it hasn't made me, feel like I have to read this. But let me know if you have and it's good. Please let me know. Little Big Love by Katy Regan. I don't remember anything about this other than I did see one other booktuber talk about it fairly recently and they enjoyed it. So I can't remember who that was, but we will see how this goes if I get to it. The Girl Left Behind by Jojo Moyes. I have enjoyed this author in the past, so I don't know why I haven't continued reading her other books. I have several on my shelf. The Lost Song by Minnie Dark. I don't remember anything about this, but I'm hoping it's a feel-good, heartwarming story. The last book from this haul is a historical fiction novel called The Chanel Sisters by Judith Little. And I think this was part of a subscription that I had at one time, and I do hope to read it eventually. So now let's take a look at last year and see how I did there. So from the first book haul of 2022, I hauled 14 books and I read 5 of them. I read the poetry collection called I Wish I Could Be Peter Falk by Paul Zitz. This was a good collection and all of the poems had some kind of connection to Ryan Gosling, which I thought was funny. The next book was one of my best books of 2022, The Maid by Nita Prose, which is a debut novel, and I loved Molly, the main character, and I will definitely read more by this author when they publish again. Next up is a classic, I forgot to grab it. The Sea by Iris Murdoch, which I read with Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot and her 1001 book club, so I got that off my list. And I read the short story collection The Secret Lives of Church Ladies by Disha Filia. I enjoyed this, but I didn't love it as much as others have. There were some of the short stories that I really enjoyed, some of them a lot more than others though. And then the last book that I read from last year's book haul is You Love Me by Caroline Kepnes, which is the 3rd book in the You series. This was not a favorite read of last year, but it did win for favorite male character because Joe Goldberg is my favorite psychopath. This is my least favorite in the series, but I will continue to read them. I know there's another one coming out this year since I have enjoyed them overall. The next book is a book that I will be reading either the end of January or beginning of February. It's coming up pretty soon on my pile, and that is The School for Good Mothers by Jasmin Chan. I'm really hoping to like this one. I've heard a lot of really good things. There are 4 books that are still on my radar. Olga Dies Dreaming by, I don't know how to say the first name, pronounce that, so I'm just going to show you. Gonzalez is the last name. I've seen mixed reviews for this, so when I read it, I will see where I land on this one. And then there's a debut poetry collection that I forgot to grab from the other room. Earth, Cool and Dirty by Jacob Lee Batchinger, I think it is. I really need to read more poetry this year, so I'm sure that I will get to this. This next one, I love the cover. The Errant Husband by Elizabeth Haynes. I don't really remember anything about this book in particular, but Elizabeth Haynes is a British author of crime novels, so I wouldn't mind, kind of reading this and seeing if I like her writing. Another poetry collection called Crooked at the Far End. This is by Canadian poet Gerald Hill. So this is another collection that has potential to be read this year when I kind of get to some poetry. This leaves me with four more books that I didn't really remember. But again, this is why I do these hauls. That way I don't forget about all the books on my shelf that are sitting unread, because there's a lot of them. So the first is Welcome to the Campfire. This is by Akshay Chuganakar. I hope that's right. This is another poetry collection that I'm going to add to the poetry list. And I believe that this author is living in Australia. A Natural History of Unnatural Things by Zachary Logan. I am seeing a pattern here. This is more poetry. And I really did let poetry fall off my radar last year. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I only read maybe 3 or 4 poetry books in the whole year. And I normally read a lot more than that. So I will be adding this to the poetry list as well. The Teller from the Tale by Ven Begamurdra. Or Murdre, maybe. This is a blend of myth and realism, and I totally forgot about this book. This is not usually the type of book that I would pick up, but I am willing to give it a try. And then the final book from the 2021 book haul is Wilder Winds by Belle Olid, and this is translated by Laura McLaughlin. I completely forgot about this little book. It's a collection of short stories, and it's only like 80 pages, maybe. So there's no reason why I can't get to this one. So overall, in January of 2021 and January of 2022, I hauled 35 books, and altogether I've read 10 so far. So that's pretty low. I wish that number were higher. The good news with these books is a lot were poetry collections and, shorter books. So I think, there could be some improvement on getting these hauls read. Definitely on the poetry ones for sure. Please let me know if you have read any of these books or if you are interested in any of them, if any of them piqued your curiosity. I will leave links below to the previous book hauls and 2021 revisit, where I do talk a little bit more in depth about the books. I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.